Hello, welcome to the first Uncommon Guitar lesson of 2021. I have a lot of lessons planned for this year and several special guest appearances, so I hope you'll subscribe and tune into all of those. In this lesson, I'm going to talk about that piece that you just watched, which is called Dot, Another Dot, and I'm going to talk about the idea of harmonic ambiguity. And what harmonic ambiguity is, it means that it's difficult to tell what key a song is in, and this piece is very hard to tell that. Part of that is because of the tuning, which is from high to low, C, C, G, C, G, and C. I would call it a C5 tuning because C is the root, G is the fifth, C5. Get you a big fat power chord sound. By the way, a guitarist, James Blood Ulmer, who I'm a huge fan of, he uses a very similar tuning, two different tunings. He has an E and B tuning that's similar and an A and E tuning. They're not the same, but I have to imagine that that was sort of a subconscious influence on this particular piece. The notation. I am not a great transcriber. The reason I transcribe my music is because it's relatively complex and I didn't want to forget how to play these pieces, so I learned how to use Finale and did my notation. But transcription is not my forte. I'm not nearly as good as somebody like Jesse Gress or Andy Aladort or Levi Clay. Those guys are amazing transcribers, and that is not my skill set. So if you're looking at some of this notation and you say, oh, that should be a G flat instead of an F sharp, or if you've got some other ideas rhythmically or pitch-wise, feel free to make some comments, because that is not, like I said, my area of expertise. One final detail about this song, this piece is very much based on one of the main ideas in music, which is the idea of rest, tension, and repose, which can be best exemplified by a C chord to a G7 chord back to a C. I'm going to do it in this tuning. I'll put the tab in too. So here's the C chord, G7, and resolving back. So that's our home bass, tension, and rest, home, repose. That's very much what this piece is about, except I'm going to give you lots of tension before I get to the repose. All right, here we go with the lesson. Opening phrase. Here's what I play. Few things about this. First of all, if I was to label this chord, and as I said, I didn't analyze this when I was writing it, I would call this maybe a C flat 5, because it's got an E, a C, and it's got an F sharp in there. So that's a weird, ambiguous chord. The next chord is this C minor 9, but the 9 and the flat 3 are a half step apart, so a lot of dissonance there. And then finally, resolving to the C5. So that is a classic example of tension, release, we're moving towards the release, and there's our resolution or repose. I'm going to use the term repose instead of rest. I do the phrase again. But this time I add a D flat. So that's creating more harmonic ambiguity, right? Are we in C Phrygian? I don't know. I play the first phrase again. Second phrase. And then this longer, very tension-filled phrase. Tension, release. And then I emphasize it, playing the same note an octave above. By the way, that's something that happens in this piece a lot too, is I'm playing similar notes in different octaves, or same notes in different octaves. There's the opening theme. The next phrase I play, this laying the finger flat across the second string, I do a backwards rake. There's a tritone there. This phrase, and then I love this one, some octave displacement here. It's a very Larry Coryell lick. In fact, when I was starting this lesson, I thought, oh, maybe I'll talk about Larry Coryell, but I'm gonna save him for a future lesson. And then, Now, I started the song with this chord, but now I'm doing the same shape but down a fret. That's some compositional continuity. Next phrase, I love this, minor seconds. I've done lessons on minor seconds before. What's great about this tuning, the two top strings are C and C. It means that to get my minor second, I just have to play this shape. Normally you'd have to do this for minor seconds, which can be a bit of a stretch, but now I get to do all this dissonance with just a simple fingering. And I slide it up. This is the next phrase. Then I play the same phrase again, up 3 frets. So again, some compositional continuity. Let me put it all in context. Rhythmically, they're different. I play this chord next, and then this one, which is a very harmonically ambiguous chord. It's got a tritone and a major 7 in there. I love that sound. Then, into context, I do this. All right, a lot of tension there. Tension, 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 tension. Let me break that down a little bit because there's a couple really cool things happening here. This chord. That chord, if you were to play it in standard tuning, would have to look like this. It's a really big stretch. But here it's relatively easy to play. Some of you might notice that that is an E7 sharp 9 shape, that Hendrix chord shape. I've talked about this before. Doing common chord shapes in alternate tunings can get you some really radical sounds. E7 sharp 9, pretty radical sound on its own, but in this context, really tense. Tense, tense, resolution. And I just want to point this out. Here is my opening chord. In the middle, I played this chord down a fret, same chord shape. And the last one, I'm doing this chord, so slightly different. So I'm getting a little bit of variation there. I'm not playing the same shape over and over again. Middle section of the song. It seems that we get into the key of C minor here with this phrase. The problem with that is that I'm actually only playing a C and an E flat and then later an F. This implies that I'm in C minor, but I also could be in, or C Aeolian minor, but I could also be in C Dorian, I could be in C Phrygian, I could be in C harmonic minor, and when I play the long phrase here in a second, you're gonna see I'm gonna get all 12 notes into it, so what key am I in then? I would wanna point this phrase out. Because of the tuning, this note and this note are the same note, but they're separated by a string. I really love that phrase. The next time I'm gonna play it down here, it's the same group of notes, but this C and this C are the same, and this C and this C are separated by an octave. Again, some variation. I get the same idea, but a little bit of variation. Now, here comes my favorite part of the song. This is the long line that I play, which I've always been interested in. How can you play solo acoustic guitar, hit a low string to drone, and then play a long phrase over top of it? So here's what I do, slowed down. So in addition to the drone, I'm also playing all 12 notes of the chromatic scale in this phrase. And then, as I said, I play this phrase, and then I play the long line again. Harmonic ambiguity. I am coming back and resolving to the C, and in fact, this phrase at the end really implies C harmonic minor, but the rest of the phrase does not, and that's harmonic ambiguity. I'm just obsessed with it. Coming out of that phrase the second time, I play this idea. First of all, it's in 7/8. I've got this seemingly C minor, C, C, E flat, C, but then the next note I play is an E natural. F, B. So that's the B, that could be a harmonic minor leading tone, but that E natural throws everything off. So in fact, here's the bass line, C, E, F, B. Sounds so happy in major, but then you put that E flat in there. throws everything off. It's hard to tell what key you're in. Finally, I finished the song with all the phrases that started it. Bookending it. By the way, in the video, I rushed this chord. I think I did this. It's supposed to be this. It's supposed to have an extra beat in there. That's better. And there you have it, harmonic ambiguity. I hope you found this lesson useful and insightful, and I hope that you can use some of the ideas that I presented in your own compositions. If you do, please send me an email. I'd love to hear some music from other weird and uncommon guitar players. As always, thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.